Hi friends, and thanks so much for being here. Today I want to talk to you about craft room organization. When I think about the things I've done in my craft room that save me time, one of the top two things that saves me the absolute most time is having sentiments, greetings already stamped, already prepped, and ready to go on my cards. I just got a new bundle of products and it is called Charming Sentiments, and it is amazing for creating greetings and having them prepped and ready in your collection. Today I want to share it with you. Now, first I'll show you, here is how I organize my greetings, my ones that are already prepared. I've showed this before. So many of you have commented and love this. This is a fishing tackle box. Everybody always asks the brand of it because you want to go find one. And I'm going to be honest, I found this in my garage. I don't know where it came from, but the brand is FLW Outdoors. I love this particular type of tackle box because I can remove the dividers and make the sections whatever size I want. So I've organized my greetings in here by occasion. So I have birthday, I have a congratulations section for babies and just general congrats and wedding and that type of thing. I have a thank you, I have an encouragement. I have these different sections and it has helped so very much. So let me show you this new bundle I have called Charming Sentiments. I love it. It has all of these really cute greetings for a lot of different occasions and coordinating dies to cut them out. So if I start talking about fussy cutting today, that's what we would call it if we would stamp the greeting and then cut it out ourselves by hand, which I'm going to be honest, I love fussy cutting. It's kind of therapeutic for me, but I know, it takes time and some of you just don't like it at all. So this makes it really easy to have those pretty stamped greetings, make them look really nice and intricate without having to do that fussy cutting. So let me show you how to use it first, like just the basic way, same way we use most dies and stamps that go together. But then I want to show you a way to use it that is, I'm going to say, kind of life-changing. I'm really excited to share this with you because it can really save you a lot of time with preparing your greetings. So first, how I use this, I'm just stamping a few of these. I chose a few at random. You could choose the ones that you use the most of. Stamp a few, use the dies, run it through my die cutting machine and cut them out. Pretty simple, not anything you haven't seen before. Now, here I'm going to show where I'm actually going to line them all up on my Stamparatus. My Stamparatus is pretty key for what we're doing today. If you have a different stamp positioner, you can use it. Of course, I absolutely love the one that I have, but okay, so I'm lining up all of the stamps here on my cardstock. Once I have them in place, I'm going to fold that plate over, attach them. Looks like I missed one. We'll pick that one back up. And now we are ready to ink it up and stamp all of those greetings at one time onto the cardstock. Love the Stamparatus because if I don't get it all stamped completely, I have a second chance or a third chance if I need it. So I get those stamped. Now I've laid this on my platform for my cut and emboss machine, and I'm going to line up all of those dies over top. Now, if you are doing it this way, a magnetic base plate is pretty important. I did it without the magnetic base plate. The one I have is, I've had a while. It has those different magnetic fields in it where the small dies like to jump around on you, and it wasn't working for this. My new one, without those little special places that pull the magnets in different directions, it is almost here, but I didn't have it for this. So I did this the old school way. I was really careful with it. And because I know how to use my cutting plates in a way that they don't warp, it actually does work. If your cutting plates are warped, this definitely would not work. If you want information on that tip that I shared a while back on keeping your cutting plates flat, I'm going to link to that in the video description below. But I lined these up. I was really careful. I ran it through and all of them stamped perfectly except for two that jumped around a little bit on me. So I thought that was pretty good for not having my magnetic plate with me. Okay, so here is where this gets a little bit life-changing. This is where I thought about this. I was like, how do I use this in a way that is, simpler, time-saving? And here is where we get started with it. Takes a little bit of time to prepare this, but delayed gratification is kind of our thing with crafting, right? Like, we don't make cards because it's fast and easy. We make it because we enjoy the process. So this is one that once I got into it, I actually really did enjoy this process. So what I did, I took that negative piece from cutting out the dies one time, and I cut each negative apart. I trimmed around it. I wanted to leave a little bit of a border, but not a lot. If you leave too much, where we're headed with this isn't going to work very well. So trim each one of those out carefully. Try to get those awkward corners off. It is going to help here in a minute. Now I got one of my pieces of grid paper that fits on my Stamparatus. I stamped those greetings directly onto that grid paper. And after that, I took my negative pieces that I just cut out and some washi tape, and I started taping them on one by one so that they perfectly outlined those stamped greetings. Lining these up correctly is key to this all working, so you want to be careful with this, take your time, and make sure when you attach them that the extra borders around the negative piece and your washi tape do not get in the way of the greetings that are next to them. So after I got those all taped on, then it's time to do our next preparation step. There's a couple of preparation steps before we get to the exciting part here. So next was to do lots of die cutting. And what's awesome about this is you don't have to line up the dies with your stamped images. That is what we are saving time on here. So I laid all those dies out. I actually laid 2 pieces of cardstock down because I have pretty good luck cutting through 2 pieces of cardstock. You can try this out yourself and see if that works for you or if you want to stick with one, but doing 2 at a time saves time. So I laid them out, 2 pieces of cardstock, put my dies on top, ran that through and popped them out. Now I do encourage you to test this out and make sure along the way that you are getting through both layers of your cardstock. A few of mine had problems getting through both layers, but most of them worked really well. Now here, let's try this again. My second time through, I thought, okay, I'm going to be smarter this time. I'm going to tape these dies together, and this is going to help me here the next couple of times I run this through. So I ran it through, popped those out, removed those dies as one big strip. So now I'm not having to manage individual dies anymore. And I lay down some more cardstock. This time I'm trying a different color and crank that through, cut out some more. I repeated this several times. I did lots of white. I did a couple of different neutral colors. Then I got to where I decided I was done cutting. I want to pop these out and organize them. So I made a pile for each shape or for each sentiment. This is definitely going to help. Staying organized here along the way definitely helps when we get to the end. So I popped these out. I organized them in piles. Pretty simple. Now I have my Stamparatus back here all prepped and ready with the negative pieces taped on over those greetings. And I'm going to organize my piles of sentiments in the same order, in the same orientation that they are on my Stamparatus. So if you look, the one at the top right, that pile of die cuts coordinates with the stamp at the top right of my Stamparatus, and so on. So this just helped me grab and go so that I knew which piece went in which spot. And here is where life gets exciting. It is time to do our stamping. So I am taking those die cuts. You can no longer see my piles, they're off screen, but just remember they're in the same order, in the same organization pattern as on my Stamparatus, because that really helps save time. So I grab one, I fill them in each of the spots, just like putting a puzzle piece in. You just want to make sure it's sitting right there in the center of that negative. Ink up all my stamps, bring the plate over, stamp, give them nice firm presses. I ended up giving a good press on top of each stamp, and that's how I decided this worked best. After it's stamped, pull those negative pieces out. Now, there's a few ways to pull those out that I found work best. One is that sticky part of the Take Your Pick tool, just helps to lift them up really well. It took me a little while to realize I could just lift that grid paper off of my platform, turn it upside down, give it a few shakes, and most of the pieces would fall out that way. So those are some ideas for removing these, but this is where it's just really fun. I fill in all the pieces. If I'm changing colors of ink, I want to make sure to clean my stamps off in between, but just fill in those spots, ink up the stamps, and stamp. this is where I really got excited, and this was where I was like, oh, I want to do this all day in every color under the sun. So I removed those. Now I did have a couple of times that didn't stamp quite right. So what do you do with those? Just remove the ones that did stamp correctly. You don't want to risk messing those up when you restamp a few, and then put the ones that didn't stamp quite right, put those back in their spots. Ink the stamps that you need to stamp again, stamp those, and they should work just fine. Now, all the way through this, you really want to make sure your grid paper stays up in the corner of the Stamparatus. That is crucial to this working properly. I chose not to use my magnet because sometimes when I use my magnet, my stamps don't want to go down all the way and stamp the ones real close to the magnet. They don't want to stamp all the way. So I chose to do this without the magnet, and I just made sure each time that the grid paper was right up there in the corner. I had so much fun doing this, so somewhere along here you may see some small hands that were helping me for a little bit. She came down and was helping me to choose which colors I was going to use. So what I tried to do, I did some neutrals. I did black, gray, crumb cake, soft suede, and then I wanted to do a color in each of the color groups. So the ones that I use most often. So I wanted to choose one pink and one green and one blue to have in my collection that hopefully, regardless of what color I have on a card, I'm going to have a sentiment that is going to look nicely with it. So I did this until I had used up all of my die cuts that I had prepared. And as I was pulling them off and removing them from the Stamparatus, I was also organizing them into piles. So each of the one that says Super Fantastic Mega News, those were all going in a pile. The thank you ones were all going in a pile. The woohoo ones were all going in a pile. And that, again, is going to help me with the next step. This is all about preparation, delayed gratification, but it's going to be awesome when I start making cards and I have all these prepped and ready. So when I got to the end, I stopped stamping, and did I throw away my grid paper with all those negatives taped on? Did I remove my stamps from my Stamparatus plate? I did not. I thought about this while I was creating, and I realized that if I hang on to that grid paper and I leave the stamps mounted to my Stamparatus plate, that anytime I want one of these in a different color that I don't have, I can come in and I can make them. So I'm going to keep some of the extra blank die cuts in my collection with no stamping on them, just the die cut completed. And anytime I want one in a color that I don't have, I can lay this grid paper on my Stamparatus. I can put that plate back in my Stamparatus and stamp whichever one I want, whichever one. Maybe I'll need one, maybe I'll need several in any color that I want. Now you may be asking like, well, that's not really practical to leave your stamps on your Stamparatus plate. And you're right, it's not the most practical, but here's the thing. The Stamparatus comes with two plates and they're both removable. So you can lift them out and put them back in the other way. So technically you have 4 sides of plates to work with at any given time. Now, the vast majority of the time, I only use one of my Stamparatus plates. So this is going to be my second extra one. I'm going to leave it in one of my drawers here in my crafting table. I am putting that clear piece that comes in your stamp sets to protect your stamps. I'm going to put that over top to protect it, to keep it from getting dirty or damaged. And I'm going to leave that in my drawer. And most of the time, I am going to use my other plate. Now, to be fair, I do have 2 Stamparatus. I'm not sure if that's called Stamparatuses or Stamparati or just Stamparatus when you have 2, but I have 2 of them. So I do have a little bit more flexibility with what I'm doing here with my plates. But I do think I'm going to leave it like this for a while at least and see, when I'm crafting, do I want one of these greetings? I can pull out that plate and pull out that grid paper really fast and stamp any color I want. So that's an idea if you think that would work for you. Okay, so after I got them all stamped, here's where it's really exciting, where we see the results of this time spent. I pulled out my tackle box with all those sentiments I had in before. I'm going to add in lots of new sentiments that look like I spent all this time fussy cutting them out by hand, but I didn't. I just used a few tips and tricks and really cool tools to do this and have some beautiful greetings. So I'm putting my faith ones and my, let's see, it's going to be okay. Everything is going to be okay. I put those in my thinking of you section. Have some birthday, have some thank you, have baby and congrats. And now my tackle box is fully stocked with lots of new sentiments included. A couple of ideas that, one idea that I forgot to mention is, let's say, you may not be a fan of a couple of these greetings in here. You don't have to use all of them. If you like most of them, you can do those and just leave the others out. You can also do extras of the ones that you really like. So if you send a lot of birthday cards, do extras of those birthday cards. Just die cut extras and then stamp extras. You can definitely do that and make this set work for you. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial of the Charming Sentiments bundle. Keep in mind, you can do this with any stamp set and any die set. It can be stamps of bears or flowers or anything else. You can do the same idea and cut a lot out at the same time. So I hope this video helped you. Thanks so much for watching along. I hope you have a blessed day, and I'll see you again next time when I'll be here helping you to hand make with love.